Welcome back to episode 3 of This Week in Motorsport, the extremely serious and informative news show that covers all things racing from the last week. Now, I apologise in advance, this one could be quite long, so maybe go boil the kettle, get yourself a biscuit or two and settle back down and prepare for the most exciting news you will ever hear. So without further ado, let's get right into the news. Lando Norris claimed victory for McLaren in the Formula 1 season opener, finishing ahead of Max Verstappen in second and George Russell in third. The rain came down on Sunday and caused all sorts of chaos, especially for the rookies. Crashes for Hadjar on the formation lap, then Doohan, Bortoleto and Lawson saw them all retire from the race, but the Mercedes rookie Antonelli shined through all of this, starting in P16 and then finishing in the race in fourth. It wasn't the home race for home hero Oscar Piastri either. After running in second for the majority of the time, when the rain started coming down, he ran off wide, following teammate Lando wide, and then ended up spinning into the grass and getting stuck. However, all things considered, he managed to return back up to 9th position in a strong finish to the race. But who impressed more? You've got the likes of Alex Albon, Lance Stroll and Nico Hülkenberg, who all scored points for their team, with the Ferrari duo of Leclerc and Hamilton finishing towards the tail end of the points in a disappointing day for Ferrari. It wasn't the most exciting race F1 has ever had, or F1 has had as a season opener, but it showed how impressive the pace of the McLaren is and how tight the midfield battle is going to be this season. As for Formula 2, their feature race was abandoned due to adverse weather conditions, which means that the sprint race winner Joshua Dirksen is currently leading the championship ahead of reigning F3 champion Leandro Fornaroli and High-Tech's Luke Browning. Formula 3, however, did manage to race, and it was Rafael Camara who took a commanding win in the feature race, escaping the challenge of teammate Stromstead and VAR's Nail in third. This result means that Camara holds a 9-point lead at the top of the table ahead of his teammate after round 1. Also racing in Albert Park this weekend was the Australian Supercars, with 2024 champion Will Brown taking back the championship lead. Mr. Consistent finished on the podium in all 3 races and has averaged a finishing position of 2.67 across the first 2 rounds. Cam Waters, who won all 3 races in Sydney, didn't qualify in the top 20, yet on Thursday he was able to perform a brilliant drive, travelling from 22nd to 6th in the race. Other winners this weekend include Brock Feeney and Cameron Hill, with the latter winning by a slender margin of 0.6 seconds. This weekend leaves Brown 7 points ahead of Cam Waters in the championship, with larger gaps back to Feeney, Moster and Kostecki, who round out the top 5. The Supercars will next take to the track in Taupo, New Zealand between the 10th and the 13th of April. Jumping over to the Americas now, and it was Porsche Penske who claimed a 1-2 finish at the Sebring 12 Hours. The number 7 car stormed to victory also after claiming the 24 Hours of Daytona victory. It was a back and forth race between the Porsche duo and the 31 Whelen Cadillac, but with just over 2 hours remaining, Nick Tandy was able to send it up the inside of Frederick Vesti at Sunset Corner, a lead that wouldn't be relinquished. The sister Porsche finished just 2.2 seconds behind the number 7, with the 93 MSR Acura of Van der Zande, Yellerly and Hello Polo, who were able to grab the final spot on the podium, even after a setback with penalties. In LMP2, Clark, Gaga and Dinman won for the Interpol Europol competition team after a chaotic race, with the GT3 GTD Pro race won by the fan favourite Rexy, who bounced back from a disappointing race at the 24 Hours of Daytona. And finally, the GTD race was won by the Winward Racing Mercedes squad, beating the Lexus team by a whopping 3.2 seconds after 12 hours of racing. Elsewhere in America, it was Josh Berry for the Wood Brothers Racing team that hit the jackpot in the NASCAR Cup Series in Vegas, beating Trackhouse's Daniel Suarez to second and RFK's Ryan Preece to third. The race had everything, with early domination from the Hendrick cars of Byron and Larson, with Larson claiming the first 2 stage victories. In all honesty, I thought Larson would win the race, but with unfortunate yellows and poorly timed pit stops, he found himself all the way down in 9th by the end. Ryan Blaney had an interesting weekend as well. Starting last due to issues in practice, he also found himself a lap down due to issues in the pit stops, but after gaining the free pass, he ended up all the way up into 5th place due to strong pace and impressive driving. But a 4-wide moment saw his car spin into the barrier in dramatic fashion, causing him to DNF. As for Christopher Bell, the man going for 4 wins in a row, he only finished 12th. He started last due to throttle component changes, and he wasn't able to carve his way through the field like Blaney, and so finished to stay outside the top 10. It was also a disappointing day for Logano in 15th, Tyler Reddick in 24th, and his teammate Bubba Wallace in 28th, who all ran in the top 3 at times during the race. This result leaves William Byron top of the NASCAR Cup standings ahead of Bell and Reddick, with 3 drivers of Bell, Byron, and now Berry locked into the playoffs. Heading to South America now, and more specifically Argentina, where Marc Marquez once again claimed pole, the sprint race win, and the MotoGP main race win ahead of his brother Alex. It didn't go all his own way this weekend though, with his younger brother taking the lead from him in the early laps, and it wasn't until the final few laps that Marc was able to re-overtake him and build a 1.1 second lead by the line. In third place was Frankie Morbidelli, who was rewarded for an excellent weekend, claiming his first podium since Jerez 2021, beating factory Ducati rider Pecco Bagnaia, who was in 4th, and his teammate Gian Antonio in 5th. It was an excellent weekend for Honda as well, with Zarco qualifying in 3rd and finishing in 6th, with only 7 seconds off the lead, closely followed by the KTM duo of Binder in 7th and Acosta in 9th. The sensational Iagura did finish the race in 8th, but was later disqualified due to non-homologated software, promoting Acosta to 8th. Fabio Quartararo rounded out the points in 15th after suffering lap 1 contact with an out-of-control Bezzecchi, and it was Miguel Oliveira who unfortunately missed the race due to suffering injuries from an unfortunate crash with Fermin Aldeguer in the sprint race. If anyone thinks the Marquez domination is going to end soon, they will be particularly disappointed, as up next for MotoGP, they are heading to COTA, where Marc is pretty dominant. And unfortunately for reigning champion Jorge Martin, he will also miss this race due to the injury sustained in his left hand during a practice. Not the start to the year the 2024 champ would have wanted. So that is your pick of motorsport news from the last week. Coming up this week in motorsport, we have F1 taking to the track in China, IndyCar makes a return to Thermal Club, and World Rallycross is changing from the streets of Monte Carlo to the safari of Kenya, and NASCAR heads to Homestead, Miami for their next round of the season. Thank you very much for sticking with me throughout all of this. I know it's a long video, but I hope you enjoyed, and let me know what you thought in the comments.